Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian Tellis, and I welcome you to the 6th edition of the Innovation for India Awards, the biennial recognition platform of the Marico Innovation Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, over the last 12 years, the Marico Innovation Foundation has been celebrating not just new cutting-edge innovation, but indeed intelligent innovation, simple, unique ideas that understand people's needs, meet them in an efficient, scalable manner, and importantly, create value for society at large. We will start the evening's proceedings with an opening address by Dr. R.A. Mashelkar, Honorary Chairman of the Governing Council, Marico Innovation Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, do join me in welcoming onto stage Dr. R.A. Mashelkar.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you all for this great evening of celebration. The best in Indian innovation, Innovation for India Awards 2016. My mind goes back 30 years ago, 1986. I remember I was a member of Science Advisory Committee to the Prime Minister in Mr. Rajiv Gandhi's time. Dr. Ashok Ganguly, I always used to sit next to him. And we were preparing for a presentation to the Prime Minister. And I remember he correcting the chairman and saying, all presentations should be such that the good news comes first, then the bad news, and you have to end with the good news. So that's what I'm going to do. The good news about Indian innovation, then the bad news, and finally end up with the good news. What is the good news? Good news is that there's a new smell in the air in terms of innovation. The young are excited. They're aspirational. You have lots of new initiatives that you find, but you see lots of young people who are hungry. I think that's the terrific news. As we speak, in Rashtrapati Bhavan, there's a festival of innovation that is going on that started on the 12th, will end on the 19th. That is going on. Last 3 days I have been there. And there have been intense discussions among 15 countries who have come together on several issues, whether it is policy, whether it is public service delivery, whether it is children's innovation. Tomorrow there is a discussion on financing of innovation. Mr. Jain Sinha will be there, and so on. So that's all sort of a terrific news. What is the bad news? The bad news is what is our standing globally in terms of innovation. If you look at Global Innovation Index that is published every year, in 2011, among 143 countries, we were 62. Following year, we came to 64, then to 68, then to 76, and last year 83. 62 to 64 to 68 to 76 to 83. So what's happening? Maybe the other countries are running faster than we do. Maybe the indices on the basis of which they measure, as usual, we'll start questioning them and start creating our own indices. But whatever, given constant parameters, we are slipping, and that's a matter of worry. That's the bad news. But then comes the good news, and there is plenty. The best news for me is the young and the young children. I was just showing to Ramji a photograph where I'm surrounded by 50 children in the age group of 6 to 12. They were in Rashtrapati Bhavan, by the way. All right, the best of ideas were being. We had a competition among children on innovative ideas, and out of 26,000, 30 were finally selected. And the president himself gave away the awards in Ahmedabad. He came. We had created prototypes on the basis of their ideas, and he went to the exhibition. And he was amazed to see that they didn't want to be a part of a problem. They wanted to be a part of a solution, and that was terrific. In fact, there was an 8th standard girl who was in a running train. She went to the toilet and found that the latch was missing. So she has created a portable latch. You can carry it with you. Can you imagine? She doesn't want to be a part of a problem. She wants to get a solution. That is the spirit. That's the good news. That will not be counted in the Global Innovation Index. There's a girl, Shalini, 13-year-old, all right, in Bihar. And her father is very poor. His annual income is close to 1 lakh. And what happens? Her grandfather is walking up the stairs with great difficulty. She designs a new walker, with spring-loaded flexible feet. We created a prototype, got a good design done. And can you imagine, that has been licensed to a company. They will manufacture 10,000 this year, and she will get 100 rupees royalty for each one of them, making her earn practically 1 lakh a month, whereas her father earns 1 lakh a year. Can you just imagine a 13-year-old poor girl from Bihar? That's the good news, according to me. And what I like most is the rising aspiration. We talk about Startup India and a whole range of things. That's wonderful. But at the ground level, I'm seeing that because I'm always amongst the young. And what do you find? Satyam Shivam Sundaram, right? Satya Nadella became the CEO of Microsoft, right? Sundar Pichai, that of Google. Shiva will also come. I'm not talking about Shivanathan. I'm talking about, all right? And some Shiva will take over Apple. So that's terrific. So I was talking to young people about, innovation and future and where should we be going. And one of them said, in fact, Kaval Rekhi, Ramji had said, he said, our dream in 1967 was just to go to the US. Then the dream changed to getting a job at Microsoft and Google. Then it changed to becoming the CEO of Microsoft and Google. And some young fellow got up and he said, none of that, sir. We want to create our own Microsofts, own Googles in India, here, basically. That is their new ambition. So I think that's plenty of good news. About our awards, I want to have a word. Today, for example, you will find that this Game Changer Award will not be given. You remember last year, in fact, I vividly remember sitting here and talking to Dr. Radhakrishnan as our Mangalayaan was going up, right? It had not reached Mars. And that was a game changer. And before that, we gave to the breakthroughs on mobile, because we have 1 billion mobile today. Before that, we gave to Aadhaar, right? Nandan Nilekani was here to receive that. Today, we have 1 billion Aadhaar. But you can see the building blocks of those game-changing innovations. JAM, Janadhana Yojana, right? Aadhaar and mobile together. And you will find Guinness Book of Record says that in 1 week, 23 to 29 August 2014, 18096,130, over 180 million accounts were created. So we always talk about speed, scale, and sustainability. Speed, yes, we have done it in a week. Scale, yes, today 200 million accounts. Sustainability, we have to watch in terms of, it's not just opening bank accounts. I'm very happy to hear 4.8 billion are already in, but then further credit growth, the rest of it has to follow, so we'll watch. But what I'm proud as Marico Innovation Foundation is our recognizing these game changers that are happening. That is something special about the world. The last point I like to make is that we have to raise the bar. We have to raise our ambition. On 1st March, that invited me to give the Science Day lecture in Delhi. That is done on 28th February. Normally, that was the day Sir C.V. Raman got his Nobel Prize discovery. And the topic that was given to me was Make in India. But I changed it to Make in India based on science-led, Indian science-led Indian innovation. The idea is make, develop, invent, develop, and make in India. I began my talk, and I will repeat that, because these are very telling figures. For every iPhone that is sold and that is manufactured in China, Apple takes away $350 as profit. And the Chinese company which manufactures it gets $10 versus $350. Of course, 4.2 million jobs are created. I think the challenge that India has to look forward to is, are we satisfied with that $10 and 4.2 million equivalent jobs, or do we want to have that $350 also? You know, the dream of our India should be the one which has that $350. And I'm very proud to see examples. Day after tomorrow, we'll be felicitating Keki Gharda, 86-year-old. We talk about startups today. He did his startups 50 years ago, exactly inventing, developing, and making India. We have Ashwin Dani here, Asian Paints. You know, completely invent, develop, and make in India. If you just see his figures and the way the multinationals were thrown out of business as a result of that, I think that should be our idea. And that is why innovation has to be at the center stage. I'd like to close by saying, and I keep on repeating this because this is very important, incremental would not do, disruptive must be in. Game-changing must be in. And for that, we have to raise the levels of ambition. Somebody was telling me on the other day, we must leapfrog. I don't believe in leapfrogging. Frog leaps only that much. And by the way, there is an interesting paper in Nature that has come just a month ago. If any one of you are on Twitter, you can find it at Ramesh Vashelkar. There's a scientific study that the frog leaps because of fear of a predator. He does not leap because he wants to. You know, I don't want India to leap out of fear, like we did in 1991. We did the game-changing thing, but what had happened? We were forced to do that. So it is not that we want to leapfrog, we want to pole vault. The size of the pole will determine the size of our ambition. Take a 1,000,000-meter pole and you can cross continents, and it is entirely possible that we can do that. And therefore, I'm very proud to be here. I think this is a 12th consecutive year as a chairman of this jury, and you know, I mean, you add really life to your years with each such evening. So thank you, Harsh, for giving me this opportunity to add life to my years by being here every year. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mashelkar, for your inspiring words. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move on to what we're all gathered here today for, namely the felicitation of the winners of the Innovation for India Awards 2016. We will be awarding 6 organizations from the diverse fields of education, of medicine, public infrastructure, journalism, and technology. First up, I would like to introduce our first award winner, Dimant Parekh, founder of The Better India. Now, Dimant has donned many, many hats in his life thus far. An MBA graduate from the Indian School of Business, Bangalore, a product manager, a published author, long-distance runner, and last but certainly not the least, a multi-passion serial entrepreneur. In the middle of all this, Dimant happily fell in love and got married to a lovely lady called Anuradha Kedia. Well, one morning, Dimant and Anuradha were, we believe, sipping their morning chai and reading the daily news. What happened next? Well, let's get Dimant to tell us himself. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming onto stage Dimant Parekh of The Better India.
How many of you here read the newspaper in the mornings? Great. And how many of you feel incredibly awesome after reading your morning newspaper? Exactly. And this reaction is what we are trying to change with thebetterindia.com. The Better India not only reports positive news, but it also informs, inspires, and influences people. We do this because of the sheer wide coverage. Urban, rural areas, far-flung remote areas are scanned for stories of unsung heroes, change makers, and grassroots innovations. Last year, in September, we covered a story about how 5 farmers were using WhatsApp to counsel each other in a remote region of Maharashtra. The story went up, went viral, and it eventually trickled down to some of the other farmers in that region. So on day 2, we had 50 farmers joining this WhatsApp group. And then mainstream media came in touch. So our website was on primetime television. And that led to 400 more farmers joining a WhatsApp group. But it doesn't stop there. This inspired the district officer of that region to call 1,200 farmers, set up a projector, and he read out our story. So today, 1,200 farmers are using WhatsApp to help each other purely because one story was published online. In another story that we covered last year was about how a French tourist set up a center for children with intellectual disabilities, children with autism, children with cerebral palsy, in a remote region of the Himalayas. The story touched so many chords that we had at least 100 of our readers, including many child psychologists, take 1-month-long sabbaticals and go volunteer there. Yet another story about an organization which picks up leftover food from events, from functions, and gives it to the needy, was able to go overnight from 1 city to 5 cities because 200 of our readers showed up as volunteers. The betterindia.com is an initiative which is basically trying to use stories to bring about a change. It was a personal blog started by my wife and I, and slowly, readers started following us regularly. We used to just cover stories in Bangalore once a week. But slowly, we got people contributing stories from different parts of the country. And we got more towns and more cities covered. Gradually, we saw that our stories were leaving an impact on the ground. And that was a huge revelation. So, my co-founder quit her job to take this on full time, and a year later, I quit my job as well. We went for a year without income, eating into our savings, but really persistently trying to make this platform a meaningful one. Eventually, a few angels supported us, and we went from being a weekly blog read by a few hundred people to today a media platform that is read by over 4 million people every month. Thank you. But having said that, the Better India is a lot more than just this. It's a treasure resource for educationists. Teachers are printing copies of our articles and reading out to high school students. They tell us that this inspires their students to think differently. It compels them to pursue new ideas. The Better India is also a likely place for you to find a whole lot of untapped potential. Let's meet one of them, Tarun.
मेरा नाम तरुण है, मैं 17 साल का हूँ, बचपन से साइन कॉलोनी में रहता हूँ।
तरुण, चल बेटा उठ, मैं छोड़ के आ रही है, चल।
मेरे को नहीं जाना स्कूल। मेरे को बुखार आता था स्कूल के नाम से, और मेरी नानी बहुत ज़बरदस्ती स्कूल भेजती थी, फिर भी मेरे को मन नहीं करता, बोर लगता था स्कूल जाना। पढ़ाई का नाम लेते बोर होता था। सिर्फ शनिवार को जाता था और सोचता था कभी 10 बजे हाफ डे में से गुल हो जाए। जब भी स्कूल से आता था और इसके बाद खाना वाना खाता था, फिर थोड़ा हाथ पैर धोता था, फिर साइकिल चलाने जाता था। पूरा दिन साइकिल चलाते रहते थे। दूर दूर तक जाते, टेंशन नहीं किसका, कुछ नहीं। हम लोग की घूमने किसको घर पे बताते नहीं थे, ऐसा घूमते थे हम लोग बहुत दूर दूर बीटी तक। रात दिन चला जाता था, फिर घर पे आता था, फिर वही चीलम चाली। नानी पूछती थी किधर गया, भाई पूछता है किधर गया तू, किधर जाता है। मैं बोला इधर ही था अपने कंपाउंड में। फिर कंपाउंड में तो रहता ही नहीं था, सब झूठ झूठ बोलता था। जब मैं 10 साल का था, जब मालूम पड़ा था, बहुत बुखार आता था, बहुत बीमार रहता था। हर टाइम बुखार, हर टाइम फोड़ी, फिर हर टाइम कुछ ना कुछ रहता ही था। मेरा कान दुखता था, दांत दुखता था। फिर एक बार हॉस्पिटल में गए, चेक किया, सब पूरा ट्रीटमेंट किया। जब ये बीमारी का मालूम पड़ा, वो बीमारी का नाम है HIV। मैं सान हॉस्पिटल गया था दवाई लेने, फिर वहाँ पे एक दीदी मिली। दीदी से बात किया, दीदी बोलती है हम लोग का सेंटर है साइन में, आप आएंगे? मैं बोला आ सकता है, मैं तो दिन भर घूमता है। मैं एक बार गया, डर डर के गया फर्स्ट टाइम। खाली एंट्री मारा ना सेंटर में, सब भूल जाता है। कभी 5:30 हुए मालूम नहीं पड़ता, जाने का मन भी नहीं करता है। उधर जाके दीदी भैया से बात करते अच्छे से, बच्चे लोग से अच्छे से बात करते। भैया ने समझाया था मेरे को पढ़ाई कर, फिर भी मैं पढ़ाई नहीं करता था। भैया ने एक चीज़ सिखाई थी, बकेट लिस्ट। मेरा सपना है DJ बनेगा मैं, और घर वाले बोलते हैं नहीं बन पाएगा, लेकिन भाई मानसी दी और भाया बोलते इन लोग को बन के दिखाओ, हम लोग हेल्प करते। सेंटर नहीं ज्वाइन हुआ था ना मैं, जब घर पे ही रहता था, स्कूल छोड़ दिया था मैंने, ऐसे घूमता था। सब लोग चीढ़ते थे, ये ऐसा टपोरी है, कहीं कुछ नहीं कर पाएगा लाइफ में। और लेकिन दिखाएगा वो लोग को करके। मैं अभी सोचा है करके दिखाएगा तो करके दिखाएगा। अभी नहीं बोलते, अभी बोलते अच्छा कर रहा है मत करिए सब, मतलब लेकिन करेगा ये। सेंटर में क्यों जाता है, क्या मिलता है? मतलब मेरे को कुछ चीज़ मिलता है वहाँ पे जाके।
This video was published online. It went viral on YouTube, Facebook, and eventually the famous musicians Shankar Ehsaan Loy and the famous DJ Nikhil Chanappa met Tarun. He was awarded a scholarship. And today, as we speak, Tarun is learning how to be a DJ. All that we've really done is just use a different lens to show India to our readers. And if all of us, in fact, each one of us, if we use this lens, you will indeed discover that there is a better, a brighter, and a more beautiful India. We've shown that news, if done the right way, it has enormous potential to change the world. So tomorrow morning, you have a choice. Either you wake up in the morning to your local newspaper, or you read The Better India and feel incredibly awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dimant, for kickstarting the evening on such a positive and, if I might add, emotional note as well. Well, I'd like to invite on the stage to join Dimant, his wife, Anuradha Kedia, who is the co-founder of The Better India. May we have you on stage, please? What's that they say about behind every successful man? I would like to invite on stage now Anu Aga, former chairperson of Thermax Limited and renowned social worker, importantly, to felicitate Dimant and his wife and present them with the Innovation for India Award 2016. Thank you very much, Ms. Aga. Congratulations to our awardees. Ladies and gentlemen, time to move on to the second award winner for the evening, Anwar Sadat, the Chief Executive Officer of Iram Scientific. Anwar is part of the team at Iram Scientific, an R&D social enterprise in the water and sanitation sector. So, what exactly do they do? You know, in today's day and age, India is busy modernizing its highways, its railways, its telecoms, but Iram is working on enhancing a very important and importantly often overlooked element of India, our public sanitation infrastructure in both urban and rural India. So how do they address the challenges associated with public sanitation in a developing country such as ours, including poor hygiene, infrastructure, and behavioral patterns as well? Well, let's get Anwar to tell us all about it. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Anwar Sadat of Iram Scientific.
5 years ago, in my hometown in Trivandrum, in South India, an 8th standard student, Geeta, was hospitalized with severe urinary infection. The doctors examined her and found that she totally avoided drinking water while at her school so that she can avoid going to the toilet. This is, Geeta shared that she used to hold the urge to relieve herself because of the filth and sting in her school's toilet. This is not the sad story of a Geeta. It's a story of millions of Geetas who suffer with this painful situation. Now, it has become common that women go to work without using toilet for hours, causing urinary tract infections, sort of illnesses. Doctors have raised serious concern of UTIs and kidney failures because of not drinking water, the fear of using the toilet. Now, let us take an example closer home. How many of you have used a public toilet and feel comfortable after coming out with a sort of infrastructure and ambience? Okay, so we at Iram Scientific Solution decided to change the age-old notion or challenges of a toilet. Our research in the past 8 years has shown us that sanitation is the most neglected sector, especially in adopting technology. So we built up a team of team with a background of IT professional, came under the chairmanship of Dr. Siddiq Ahmad, an NRI businessman from Saudi Arabia, and formed Iram Scientific with the product of electronic toilet or e-toilet, India's first e-toilet, to dignify this sector with a whole new ambience. Let us see a video about e-toilet.
E-toilets are unmanned, self-cleaning and remotely monitored. Variants include sheet toilets and for differently abled. Iram launched the world's cheapest school e-toilet, 100% Make in India product with user-friendly access and robust steel structure. Iram systems adopt the concept of Internet of Things for monitoring and upkeep, proven O&M mechanism for sustainability.
Thank you. While designing the e-toilet, we studied the existing system, especially the issues that are related with the sanitation sector. We found the main issue is the upkeep and maintenance of the toilet. It's not that we have less number of toilet, but we don't have functional toilet in that per se. We studied the issues like limited space in urban settings, need to dismantle frequently, etc., etc. And in the design, we have incorporated all these parameters. That is why we were able to come out with a portable, sturdy, and a system which requires unmanned operation, which has inbuilt self-cleaning functionalities. Again, coming to maintenance and upkeep, we don't have any toilet cleaners or regular labor workers to handle the toilet. But we have a pool of service engineers, qualified professionals, who do monitor these units through a system in their mobile or in the web by using GPRS. All electronic toilets are connected over web. The main challenges that we are facing is to change the mindset of people. Not only the users, but the authorities who are supposed to provide our infrastructure in public spaces. But in our journey, we have seen so much successes, and I would like to share one of that change which have come after implementing e-toilet. It's a portion from the NDTV video which is aired in 1st March, or to that.
At this slum, women say they used to walk to a filthy public toilet in the adjoining street. Now many claim they've given up open defecation.
ரொம்ப டஸ்டா இருக்கும் எல்லாமே இருக்கும் இப்போ இது எதுவுமே இல்லாத எங்க சுத்தமா நல்லா சுகாதாரமா இருக்குது
முந்தி கொஞ்சம் முகத்தை சுழிச்சிட்டு சிரமமா இருக்கும் உட்கார்ந்துட்டு இருப்போம் இப்போ எந்த ஒரு இது இல்லாம போயிட்டு ஃப்ரீயா வந்துரும்
Thank you. So we are happy to see that our attempt to dignify the sector and to put technology not as an end solution but an enabler or a tool to bridge the gap for the existing system. As part of Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, we have installed 500 e-toilets in schools of Nellore districts in Andhra Pradesh. And to our surprise, we have seen so much kids who are using a toilet for the first time. But after using that, the change in the perspective toward the sanitation, we were able to permeate that to the household level. So we see that shift. Right now, we are in 19 states, including Maharashtra. You can see e-toilets in Navi Mumbai. It's coming up in BMC areas. 1,600 units were installed across India. And we are constantly innovating. We are working with Gates Foundation, University of South Florida, California Institute of Technology, DRDO, etc., to bring out a system, a self-sustainable system. We have brought down the cost and introduced world's most economically priced solar-powered electronic toilet in October 2nd of 2014. Right now, the research is going to generate nutrient, energy, and water from the toilet waste, and the pilot is happening along with the South Florida University in Kerala. To conclude, on 15th August 2015, it is reported that 8 million toilets were constructed in India, but the number is far-fetched from the real goal of making India an open defecation free. Our vision is to build an open defecation India at least by 2019. Thank you.
That's truly wonderful. I would like to invite on the stage Mr. Dorab Sopariwala, editorial advisor to NDTV and one of India's leading election analysts, to felicitate Anwar and present him with the Innovation for India Award 2016.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations, Anwar. Thank you very much, Mr. Sapariwala. Right, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to our third award winner for the evening. Manish Doshi, founder of Concept Medicals. A textile engineer by qualification, he has juggled many professions in his lifetime and was running 3 successful businesses in his hometown, Surat. One day he took the decision to give up all 3 businesses and pursue a completely new field in which he holds, incidentally, 23 patents to date. Let's hear the story behind this remarkable journey from the man himself, from Manish. Let's welcome on stage Manish Doshi of Concept Medicals.
It was 18 years before, March of 1998. We were operating engineering workshop in Baroda. During that time, we received one inquiry from German medical company to cut and process small stainless steel tube. And it was for medical device. They sent some samples as well to us, but till that time I was not aware what is this product is. So, as it was a medical device, I decided to show it to my cousin, who is a physician. He told me, Manish, this tiny object is very important product to treat heart disease. It is a stent. It is known as a stent. It treats heart blockages and restores the blood flow. I said, wow. This tiny a piece of stainless steel tube, which is having an amazing role, very important role. So I decided to learn more. When I was learning about the costing, I learned that it was costing 80,000 rupees. Can you believe? Small tube, stainless steel. It was 80,000. I was holding on my palm and looking at it. Is it worth of 80,000 rupees? I was wondered. I thought, it was looking like 200 rupees product of cost of material if you calculate. So what happened? Do you know? My Gujarati DNA in me was totally disturbed. I said, so I decided why I did not enter in this business before. This is excellent and it's a life-saving device. So you get blessings as well. So finally, I decided, because I have a way of thinking which is disruptive. I sacrificed my 3 business. I said, this is the good business, and I can go for global business. Yeah. So I decided why we cannot make this product in India. And I decided to learn more about the product, did something more detailed, and discuss with one of the relative. Again, it was a Gujarati. So we agreed, and he's a visionary person as well. We agreed to develop stent in India. We gathered a team of engineers, consulted some cardiologists, and started our journey to develop first stent of India. And that during the process of development and doing R&D, we understood why it was expensive. It was expensive because it was worth of technology. It was not easy technology. It was required lots of clinical trial, lots of R&D, robust technology. But we did it. It took 2 years to develop first stent of India. It was very good success for us. We were successful to bring down the cost to 40,000 rupees in India. And moreover, this product, which was made in India, we were able to take it into more than 40 countries. So that's how I started my journey in medical device. Otherwise, I'm a textile engineer. So in 2007, again, I moved out of the company where I was a co-founder and became a solo entrepreneur. That time, again, I was having the way of thinking same, disruptive, but was having more experience now in medical device industry. So I questioned myself, why we require implant? To every time to treat heart disease, to remove the blockage, to deliver the drug, always we require object, implant like a stent. Can't we have some better technology? Then I started thinking on it. And during that time only, I met one of the good friend who was my classmate in my textile studies. He was doing some research for fabric by application of nanotechnology. He said that they are using nanotechnology to get excellent printing images, do good brightness with using very less of pigment. Then I understand the nanotechnology principle. And I was very excited. I said, when size does matter, you require drug delivery in body part, you require good penetration. Can't we adapt this technology to treat heart disease? And that's how our innovation, Magic Touch, was born. Magic Touch is the present innovative technology. It's a sirolimus coated balloon. We are only the company who got success in the world to develop this product. Even many other companies I cannot name, but MNCs tried. It took 7 years, and it was now endorsed by European authority as well. So Magic Touch is a product which treats heart disease by delivering the drug through a carrier called balloon. And it leaves nothing behind it. There is no implant. Drug is delivered to maximum infected area, and the maximum penetration happens of the drug. And this Magic Touch sirolimus coated balloon ensures the treated segment, treated area of heart should not come back with the reoccurrence. There are minimal chances of reoccurrence. And proudly I can say, we are only the company right now who got success to develop this product from India. So this is now our dream. Our dream is really broad, that every heart patient of the world should have Magic Touch inside. Although I'm a textile engineer by qualification, I excelled in medical device industry. And disruptive thinking has been my success mantra that I believe. What is your success mantra? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manish. I would like to invite onto stage Mr. Ranjan Kapoor, Country Manager, India, WPP, and Chairman Bates India, to please felicitate Manish and present him with the Innovation for India Awards 2016. Thank you, Mr. Kapoor. Well done, Manish. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have 3 more winners waiting to speak with us, but before that, we have something new, something exciting lined up. We have lined up tonight, interestingly, a fireside chat between some of the brightest minds from India's entrepreneurial landscape who will have a conversation about the value of disruptive innovation and, importantly, its impact on India. I must tell you who the participants are. We have Bhavish Agarwal, founder of Ola Cabs, one of the leading radio cab aggregators in India. In fact, they are the people that transformed the everyday mobility of millions upon millions of Indians. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, founder and chief executive officer of Paytm, the Indian mobile payment and commerce startup that has indeed revolutionized the ways Indians transact online. We have Ashish Hemrajani, chief executive officer of BookMyShow, India's biggest online movie and events ticketing brand. In fact, a brand that recently joined the 1,000 crore valuation club. And finally, we have Mr. Harish Chawla, partner at India Value Fund Advisors, one of India's most experienced and indeed respected private equity funds. The conversation between these entrepreneurs will be curated by none less than Noshir Kaka, Managing Director of McKinsey India. And so, ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, allow me to welcome these gentlemen onto stage. Please join me in giving them a round of applause as they make their way up. Bhavish Agarwal of Ola Cabs, Harish Chawla of India Value Fund Advisors, Vijay Shekhar Sharma of Paytm, Ashish Hemrajani of BookMyShow, and last but certainly not the least, Noshir Kaka of McKinsey India.
I'm sorry, we'll have to take a 1-minute break. We were just discussing while we were sitting that all of us are the ones who make losses and you guys make all the profits. So these guys were shitting in their pants. They just took a loo break, so just give us a minute.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're a multi-billionaire, you still have to end up in the loo. So this is actually going to be a fabulous panel, and hopefully as my co-panelists will join us one by one, as and when. I think this is certainly a first.
I had to run from the loo and come here.
We hear that. Vijay, welcome.
Did you make it, Vijay?
Can we give them a hand? There are many ways to have impact in this world. So there's a glimpse of this brave new world sitting on this panel here tonight as you think forward and as you even think today, which is, you know, Ashish and his company will help you book pretty much anything in your life. Bhavesh will essentially help you get there. Vijay will, of course, be your wallet and help you pay for it. And Harish, as we are apt to say with private equity and venture capitalists today, will actually really end up paying for it all. I think the only thing consistent in this picture of the future will probably be McKinsey sitting around telling you how wonderful the future is. Yes,
He's the only guy who makes money, by the way.
And of course, Rakesh Jhunjhunwala telling you that the market is undervalued. But it is actually quite an important topic for India. And Mr. Amitabh Kant has joined us at the right time as well. We think that disruptive technology, enabling technology, whatever you may call it, actually has the potential and the possibility of adding about 20 to 30% of India's incremental growth in the next 10 years. To give you a sense of that, that is the size of the manufacturing sector today. Right? That is the power of innovation led not just by technology, but by business model and many other things that can shape the India of tomorrow. And with that, we're going to turn this over to Bhavesh. I'm going to start with you as the youngest and the best-looking member of this panel.
I disagree. I think Ashish is
I think Vijay had something to say for that, but we shall leave that in the loo. But Bhavish, one of the startling facts that we heard is that for every shared vehicle on the street today, it actually replaces 9 self-driven vehicles. Every shared vehicle on the street today replaces, over time, 9 self-driven vehicles. If you're in the automotive industry, or if you're in the steel industry, how would you respond to this kind of innovation coming at you from players like Ola?
Well, I've heard the word disruption a lot today. So let me begin by a small anecdote. So the only thing I really believe I've disrupted is my parents' life when I started up Ola. My dad thought I grew up in a small town in India, Ludhiana. And my dad, what's the joke with it? Small. And my dad thought when I told him this idea that, Dad, I want to build this mobile app to aggregate cabs, he said, Beta, tu IIT padhaya, tu travel agent ban raha? And I said, Dad, I'll come back to you after a year. But I think that mentality of the generation before is changing very fast. And there are a few big trends that I see from my perspective, which is completely changing consumption in India. And the primary one of that is the mobile phone. And the mobile phone, coupled with the data revolution, coupled with the easy access to capital for entrepreneurs like us to create disruptive business models, is really changing. I believe it'll change every B2C consumption vertical in India, and we are just a small example of that. Actually, all 3 of us are small, examples of that. And fundamentally, that I believe is built on top of how you understand your data of your industry. I think if I look at our business, one of the key pillars I feel is data of the consumers and the suppliers, and how well we can process that, how real time we can process that is going to make us disrupt, or I like to feel we are actually creating, because in India nothing even exists right now. So it'll make you create new business models, change paradigms, leapfrog paradigms, and I think that's fundamentally what the traditional industries I feel need to keep in mind.
Thank you, Bhavish. Vijay, let me turn to you. Uday Kotak has famously said that startups are giving him sleepless nights, I'm sure amongst other things. What are the incumbents doing that are giving you sleepless nights, or could give you sleepless nights?
No, I don't think any startup guy will ever say that there is a sleepless night from an incumbent. I don't think that this is even true. And I think Uday was saying probably because he lent money to someone, and somebody was rating his stock after that. Because I don't think there is any reason for him to believe any startup will be able to do anything to this incredible companies that have been built in history. As far as companies like us, and especially in our case, is concerned, I think we are working in a blue ocean. In this country, people have sort of built a banking, financial services, payment, and ecosystem for classic people who have. And this split of have and have-nots, and the classic PMJDY and JM we talked about, all this is attempt to increase this inclusion to a level forward. And I think I'm totally surprised. I'm an internet entrepreneur since 99, 2000, surprisingly. So at a time when Haresh was still an entrepreneur, not a champion of commentary as he does today. So interestingly, I got a shock that in 10, 15 years, nobody built a payment platform in this country. And once we wanted to do it, our investors and board members also said the same thing. In this country, everything goes with cash. You're the dumb guy who's trying to build something which will be user behavior changing. And to my surprise, I think what we found out was that the very fact that assuming that people will be behaving like this is a wrong assumption unless you try it out. My theory is that you should throw a lot of ideas on the wall, and if it sticks, it's the correct idea. If it is not, then you're not a judge of an idea. Basically, we shouldn't be judgmental about ideas. I think that is what I learned. And on the board meeting, I still remember when I said that we will build a payment platform, it was like a really, you can't spend this money on spending like 5 crore was my ask budget on the day one. And I had to put like a double a quit of my equity on the board table. I said, this is my 1%. If it doesn't work out, all of you pro rata distribute it so that you know that I didn't waste the money of the company, else we'll have a joyride forward. And I think we surprised ourselves when we were thinking about whether this country will need a payment system or not. What I have learned in this country is sometimes size of market calculation is distorted because you have not seen the supply of that product yet. So sometime oversupply and supply itself creates a market. I don't think that it happens in many industries and many times, but when you start from nothing, that time judging, I mean, classic McKinsey study of cellular that we know of AT&T is an example there, that before cellular exists, you can't judge the market of cellular. Before payment exists, you can't judge the market of payment. So we took a punt on that, and I'm totally surprised. Today, I am seeing that in offline world stands for a mom and pop shop, kirana wala, auto rickshaw, and taxi guy, who's not a savvy person, who has traditionally never used a payment system, and obviously Visa, Master, or anybody, a bank would not go to give them a POS machine, is actually, by virtue of our QR code, which he puts up a sticker of, or his phone that he uses as a POS, is doing in a month. In January, we did 3.5 million transactions in an offline world, which was like a rock star number for an online world a year back. And offline is doing that now. And I want to tell you this year standalone in this country, Paytm will build a larger merchant network than combined Visa, Master, Amex, RuPay in this country itself in 1 year. And I tell you one thing, because we will build it, because we have said this, that unless you are all in, you never won. And I think we will take this punt that we built a consumer side demand and we will build a merchant side demand in this country. And to my pleasant surprise, as I said it again, every merchant and consumer is joining it as if this is their revolution. I'm humbled by the attention that we get, and I'm surprised by the attention that customers are giving us. So in this case, if somebody is getting sleepless nights, somebody should get a sleepless night. Will I be able to capitalize the digital revolution that is happening in fintech in this country? Not because somebody is taking away the cake. Somebody is making a bigger cake for everybody to share in this country.
This amazing small little payments platform, I believe, crossed HDFC Bank and virtually every other private sector bank last year in the number of transactions done in India. Absolutely
just
phenomenal.
By surprise.
Harish,
okay,
if I can
so I'm going to give you one last thing.
Oh.
And this is because 1998, I came out of engineering college in Delhi School of Engineering. I used to see Sir Mishelkar as a part of speaking in that side, and I'm totally honored to be in a company where I'm sharing the dais after certain minutes there. When I came out of college, I was having a very evident and obvious choice of going to US. This was a time when Y2K was happening. This was a time, a few years later, internet will happen. And I had a strong urge to build something in India. Today we talk it and glorify it as a startup, and today we glorify it as Make in India. But that was a time that we talk about it. The best moment in my life happened when one of the American networks said that if you do not issue our cards, we will not let you accept those cards on your network. This is the power when India wakes up, I can tell you that.
Wonderful.
Even a large international conglomerate threatens themselves, feels threatened.
Harish, let's turn to you. The cynics amongst us would say we've seen all of this before, right? Some of us are old enough to remember at least 2 cycles of it. What's really different this time?
Okay, I thought we can discuss innovation. So there is this product innovation that people talk about, where you create a new product or create a new service and create a new way of doing things. But what's happening right now is that we're seeing disruption with data and capital. Now, data is clearly, you've got hundreds and millions of consumers who are accessible on their phone devices. So you can instantly launch a product. You heard Netflix launched in 100 countries in 1 day. Essentially, any of the gentlemen sitting here, all of them, I mean, I'm sure the apps in the room, people have at least 2 or more of their apps on their phones here. So that the fact that it's different is that one is that when you use the power of data and you're able to get instantaneous access to many million customers, you can suddenly create new markets. So what's happening today is that these companies are coming and putting a data layer on top of physical and brick and mortar businesses. And the data layer is becoming a gatekeeper for consumers. So essentially between Paytm, BookMyShow. BookMyShow is the layer between a theater and a theater seat and you. And equally between a cab driver, who you would normally end up either calling or walking on a street to, he's become the gatekeeper there. And equally, Paytm is now, essentially, we look at what banks were doing. The money was always electronic in a bank, and the bank was actually giving you cash from an ATM. You went back, spent it, the cash went back and became electronic again. That whole thing is destroyed now. You can keep money electronically in your smartphone. So the difference is that seeing that instantaneous growth that you can suddenly reach out to consumers, that your model can actually unbundle services and repack them in a new manner. Venture capital actually goes deep into this and says that I can build new markets. So last year in US, $1 billion company was built every 3 days. Now, some of them will obviously die because inherently these models that are disruptive are also commodity in nature. Essentially, whoever uses data the best is likely to win. So they face intense competition. But VC capital is designed to actually drive the wedge, and they see that they can get market share against physical and brick and mortar businesses, and this value will move to this layer. Today, whatever is happening, if you go on, let's say, shopping on Amazon or Flipkart, a big brand gets the same number of pixels on that page as a small brand. So it's commoditizing the physical brick and mortar business, and the value is moving to the data layer. And capital is therefore flowing into it, and capital can see returns, it can see disruption, it can see that incumbents cannot react, and that's how value is being created. So clearly it's different this time because consumers are instantly accessible on their phones.
So Ashish, let me turn to you as the oldest startup in a young world. I believe BookMyShow has been around in some avatar for 17 years, thereabouts. Vijay kindly reminded us that it's probably when Bhavesh was entering puberty or something like that, thereabouts. As you can see, Vijay is the calming influence in this panel. But if you look at that 17-year journey, Ashish, what have been, and particularly since you've also worked in the corporate world before that, what have been the lessons learned for you, and how is it different in operating in this startup ecosystem?
So look, from my perspective, disruptive innovation for us is survival. We don't sit like most traditional businesses which have a steel plant, which has some oil, and they don't know what to do. They're twiddling their thumbs and they say, okay, now we need to think about disruptive innovation. It was survival for us. Because the barriers to entry in our business is so low. Capital is freely available. 2 kids sitting out of a garage in Pune can start a business by taking a premises on rent, and suddenly tomorrow there's a business. And you're always looking over your shoulder, and therefore, if you don't innovate, you die, as far as our businesses are concerned. Because there's no barriers to entry in our business. It's pretty quick, it's pretty simple. As far as we're concerned, the way we think about the market, and I can talk about ourselves, is India has 3.6 billion movie tickets sold annually, which is all of Africa, Middle East, North America, and Europe put together. And we are a movie-crazy nation, not because to the untrained eye it looks like we are a poor, destitute, and we want to escape from reality and see translucent sari-clad women running around trees and all of that. We're not desperate. We're a hot, dusty country. It's freaking 40 degrees outside. We have the maximum sunshine. Most Indians are vitamin D deficient. I run BookMyShow in New Zealand. When the temperature hits 32 degrees, I lose movie ticket sales to sailing, running, golfing, and swimming. In India, it's always hot, 9 or 10 months of the year. Why do you think in South India there are more movie tickets sold? Because it's really, really hot all the time. So in Andhra Pradesh and in Tamil Nadu and in Karnataka, they're bigger film industries for us. And so that's how we look at it. Somebody asked me, who's your competition? My competition is the ecosystem. My competition is the mindset of the Indian consumer. When I talk about the ecosystem, everybody talks about this big universe out there. It does exist, but it's 1.2 billion Indians, 900 million handsets, 300 million smartphones, 150 million data connections, 400 million bank accounts. And of course, there's Paytm now to aid us in this journey. 22 million credit cards. So what is really the TAM? And so then you start thinking about innovation, about disruption, about saying, how do I grow the damn business? How do I do this? So BookMyShow recently started an unpaid booking, which is a reserve model. And you can pay up to 1 hour before the show. The other thing that we're working on is an algorithm to actually create a live credit score for the consumer based on his IMI phone handset, based on the area that he lives in, based on his past performance, his browsing history, and his purchase history. And then we give him a credit score. And if we think he's likely to pay, we give him a microcredit in real time when he's booking a ticket and allow him to pay within a month. So we're trying to go to the unbanked guys, to the guys who we can approach, and that's disruptive, innovative thinking or whatever, but it's just survival. I mean, we've got to do it, otherwise we're sunk.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Next time any of you meet Shah Rukh Khan, tell him to thank the weather. Bhavesh, let me turn to you. As you look forward, and we'll take one round more of questions and then open up to the audience, because I'm sure people will actually love to ask the panelists some questions as well. The Ola model is really disruptive. I mean, the sharing economy, right? Somebody did the analysis. We actually run a small fleet in McKinsey. We have about 82 cars in Mumbai itself. And somebody did the analysis for us, as we are fiends for. And the equivalent is, if we had turned the fleet over to an Ola or Uber, the cost would be 13% of what I pay today, 1-3.
I'll send somebody to your office.
Yeah. This is the power of that sharing economy, right? As you look at Ola 5 years from now, or many Olas in this audience, where else do you see opportunities like this in India to capture that are waiting? Because we are a capital-constrained economy. If there's one thing we should be doing, it's actually sharing.
I think fundamentally, if you look at the Ola model, right, in India, 200 million commutes happen every day. And our mission is to be part of each one of them. And if you look at, like I said earlier, if you look at every consumption vertical, be it payments, be it movies, 3.6 billion tickets a day, a year. Every consumption vertical is going to be revolutionized by this sharing model. There are so many, it's more prevalent in the West, where there's a lot of there's a lot of investment in previous paradigms of infrastructure. Could be car ownership, could be legacy industries. India, that's not the case. In our industry, India has only 6% car ownership. In the West, it has 50% car ownership. So in India, the sharing economy will take a very different shape. I like to believe in India, it'll be more of creation of these new paradigms, which will happen from a very different dynamic than compared to the West. The way I see it is 200 million trips happening a day. Those trips happen in a bus which is so crowded. These people need different alternate modes of transportation. Local trains are very crowded. So sharing won't be me sharing my private car with somebody, because the people who own cars in India is just people on this dais or the people in this room. The average Indian does not own a car. So it'll be more of creation of this consumption than actually asset sharing across different people. So and across different industries, I believe that's going to be the case, be it logistics, be it restaurant infrastructure, what have you.
Vijay, you're a man who is known by the ambition or objectives that he sets for himself and the team around him, which are frankly outrageous. The latest one, or maybe you'll top it even in this discussion, is that you want to put a Paytm wallet in at least nearly half of all Indians in this country. How do you get your team to actually believe in this kind of aspiration and not treat it as an outrageous fantasy?
I think every one of us will agree that if you don't do something that gets in history books, what else you wasted your life on? I think, is it a question? I think, so when I talk to my team and we go through a challenge, and the challenge is an existential challenge that we talk about. 2014, nobody believed that we will even be able to successfully do 100 transactions, 100,000 transactions. And I in my room said that there was a go big or go home, and it said, there will be 1 million order a day will happen here first. That's our wow, and that's our game. We just wrote it on a wall so that nobody is confused what is our target, and nobody is confused why we are chasing it. And in those days, just to put the context of it, IRCTC used to be like the god of e-commerce, 600,000 transactions, and that was like a benchmark. And I said that I can't put the timeline on it, but I definitely know this, that we'll be the first one to cross 1 million in a day. And surprisingly, similarly, when we talked about that 100 million, I remember the board meeting was happening again. My board meetings are a very pivoting moment in my life, as you may guess now.
For your board members as well, I'm sure.
It is. Basically, in board meeting, I have learned that you have to give a message so that you can get the assets back and the resources back. So I remember that there was a growth of our wallets, like 2 million, 3 million, 5 million, and 10 million. We were there in 13 million, and I ... 100 million, December 2016. And I wrote on the top, Paytm will be India's first 100 million user product. dot. That's it. I didn't talk about what timeline. It is written on this. Surprisingly, we did it in 1 year before. We talked about December 16 and we had it in December 15. Total surprise. In fact, once you learn to defy gravity, then there is no better fun in defying gravity, anything else actually. It is so much so. And I think that to the team, once they learn how to do it, next time they only want to know what is the next. Can you believe, as a fundraising target, I mean, somebody came to pitch for, let's say, we would like to put money in your company, and I was like, what is the presentation I should show you? So I showed my board MIS, expectedly, and then I said, okay, I think you want to know the business, so I'll show you the presentation I gave a year back to my fundraising. Shocking for me was the numbers that we go 3 years forward were done in that first year itself. And this is what I want to tell you. Once you are oblivious to the pain is a given fact. It doesn't matter. Every one of you will go through the pain, right? And given that you are going through the pain, given that market will be tough, given that resources will be less, then why waste time on doing anything less than creating a history? I mean, this is like a given one. Nobody should waste their life on anything less than creating a history. I think I'm clear about that.
I believe the signposts at Paytm carry the famous slogan, go big or go home.
Okay, so right now our mission, which is in that we changed that 1 billion to a 500 million Indian will be brought to the mainstream of economy by us. I think that is what we are targeting right now. And I think we should be able to do it like we were talking in next 3 years. So 2019, seeing 2016 is that time period.
So Harish, let me turn to you now. There's a nice question, which is, what did you not see in Ola that made you invest in Meru?
Okay. Okay. So, it's a very interesting question, actually. So, Meru was already invested many years ago. Meru was one of the pioneers in the cab business. And it is like an incumbent, actually. And when you see this fact that you had a data-driven business like Ola come in, the fact is, data-driven businesses do two things. The one, they create a platform in which anybody can plug in. You have big car, small car, you plug in that. And secondly, they create network effects. When you see that, you essentially create winner-take-all markets. And then the amount of capital that's pumped in clearly leaves the incumbents, catching up. So I think that's what's happened even in Meru, which is now an 8-year-old business. And Meru will have to clearly define its business model differently now. But I'm saying what's going to happen to everybody in this room if you run a business that's not dependent on natural resources, either oil and gas and something like that, or you have a specific product IP. Remember that slowly this tsunami is going to come and hit you, where you will either have to become a platform or become a supplier into one. So that's the big danger which is happening, and I've seen it firsthand in several businesses that I've invested in over the years, that if you do not see this coming, and it creeps up on you, that there is this company, I'm sure the banks will tomorrow realize, they had all the money lying electronically, all they did not do was transfer it to my smartphone, which is what this man has done. He's built a data network or data platform over data that was already there. So I think that's the big challenge here for all of us to start realizing that India is going to, sorry to use the word leapfrog here, but it's already leapfrogged. Our consumers, 200 million smartphones is the market for everybody. So suddenly when the market becomes so large, how you treat data becomes the most important thing. And everybody needs to think about how many analysts do they have on their teams. The banks will fail against Paytm actually because of the fact that they don't have data analysts there. So I think that's the key thing to think about. How you build your business model is fundamentally changing from now in India. I think if anybody is sleeping peacefully anywhere, I'm not talking Uday Kotak, but everybody here is sleeping peacefully, we are all going to get hit by this wave of companies that are young, and leaving Ashish out here, that are young, and they understand that data is the way to drive businesses, create a winner-takes-all platform. And the big thing, the one big innovation that we'll see that will transform our nation over the next 10 years is this entire Aadhaar platform that's come on. I think the fact that we'll have eKYC going on, we'll have Aadhaar working, and it'll all work on the smartphone, frankly, is actually creating a public platform for startups to build value on. So I think what we've seen so far is that, he's got 100 million wallets, but there are 1 billion people already who are mobile ready, who can use their Aadhaar card, who can sign documents on their phones in the next few years. And suddenly you'll find a different layer. Unlike any other country in the world, India is the only one where information, identity, transaction, trust, is all available as a public resource. So I think that transformation is just about to take off. So I think we are seeing this little blip in startup investments. It's just a blip. Actually, the bigger startup investment has to start now as we realize, 4G networks are coming in, payment platforms are coming up, UID is taking off, trust will become much easier in the system. The moment you have somebody's Aadhaar card, you can trust a transaction with him. So that's going to be transformative. So I think the wall of capital is actually about to begin now.
Wonderful. I'm sure Uday will sleep soundly tonight after all the mentions of him. Ashish, my last question, I'll turn to you. For the phenomenal success that you've had in BookMyShow, I mean, the fact is, I think you're organizing, you're orchestrating the T20 World Cup in India as we speak. How do you maintain balance and perspective in this world that has outrageous ambition, exciting competitors, and an ever-hungry market for more?
Look, it's a marathon. You've got to bloody yourselves on certain sprints, but it's a marathon. And in India, no business can be built in 2 or 3 years. Then you think like an investor. You enter to exit. As an entrepreneur, my kick in life is to look at a user experience, build incrementally on that, and deliver value. And the valuation, the number of people is a poor metric. It's a byproduct. You will never hear us talk about our valuation, which incidentally is not 1,000 crores anymore. It is a lot more, but you will never hear it from us. And you will never hear us talk about the number of employees that we have. It's a poor metric. I keep telling my team that what do 300, the Greeks in the movie 300, what they could do and beat the Persians, why do we need 1,000 people or more? And so it's a marathon. And you have this balance. I sail every weekend aggressively. Kishore is my sailing partner. We were supposed to go to Goa tonight. He is, and I'm just supplying the biryani. I'm the caterer. But, work out every day. You come into work, be excited on Monday mornings as much as you are with Friday evenings. We run a Vedanta class on Tuesday in office. We do beers and chips on a Friday on our terrace. And so you sort of, continue life the way it is because it's a 15, 20-year journey. And then you will positively make an impact. So it's not about a sprint. It's not short-changing yourself. And don't burn yourself out. Just do it, waking up every day and incrementally keep innovating.
My little monitor over here is flashing that says time's up. It just went out. So I think with that, I'm sorry, we are going to be around here for the evening. So if any other questions come through, we'd love to take them. With that, I just thank you. I think you've heard the secret of Bollywood and what makes India tick. You've heard outrageous ambition and the actual ability to achieve it. And of course, you've had a wonderful panel in front of us that actually shows us the future for India. Thank you so much.
I'm going to request our panelists to please stay with us for a few moments more. Many thanks to Bhavish, Haresh, Vijay, Ashish, Noshir. Let's give them one more round of applause. Really riveting discussion on the power of disruptive innovation. And as a token of our appreciation, I would like to invite onto stage Dr. R.A. Mashelkar to kindly come up and give each of the fireside chat participants, and of course Noshir as well, a small memento for sharing their time and importantly their knowledge with us this evening. Yeah, I think, ladies and gentlemen, you do well to give them another round of applause. Truly was a wonderful sharing. Dr. Mashelkar, thank you very much to our panelists and our moderator. Thank you, gentlemen. Much appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, tough act to follow, huh? We will now return to felicitating the last 3 winners of the Innovation for India Awards 2016. Our 4th winner for the evening is Dr. Suman Kapoor of XBits. Dr. Suman is the Dean of the International Programs and Collaboration Division at the Birla Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani. She also holds the prestigious Shri B.K. Birla and Srimati Sarla Birla Chair Professorship. Did you know, ladies and gentlemen, that more than 10 lakh people in India suffer from urinary tract infection or UTI every day? Worse, more than 90% of them are prescribed antibiotics even before testing if these would work, resulting in microbes becoming resistant to antibiotics, often described or defined as a ticking time bomb and a threat worse than terrorism. How will we tackle this menace? Dr. Suman Kapoor of XBits may have the answer. Please join me in welcoming on stage Dr. Suman Kapoor of XBits.
Rohit, a 38-year-old banker from Mumbai, often flies to New York. In his last flight, he caught a cough and fever from a co-passenger. On arrival in New York, he visited the health center, and the doctors took his sample for testing. Rohit was informed that it would take 3 days to get the results. However, to treat his fever, the doctors prescribed antibiotics. 3 days later, the report revealed that the antibiotics that he was taking could not kill the bacteria that infected and caused fever for Rohit. 4 days later, Rohit died due to a simple infection that he caught in flight. 700,000 Rohits died last year because antibiotics did not work. Let us understand why does this happen? It takes 3 long days, 72 hours to get the report. In the meantime, doctors use clinical judgment to prescribe antibiotics on a trial and error basis. This is exactly what happened in Rohit's case. Imagine if the doctor could have known this sooner. They could have saved Rohit's life. The good news is that our innovation, Right Biotech, does exactly the same. Right Biotech is the fastest antibiotic finder available today. Right Biotech assists the doctor in prescribing the right, correct antibiotic in a matter of hours. We have not only reduced the time taken for the test, Right Biotech test also costs only 1/4 the cost of tests available today. The Right Biotech instrument costs only rupees 80,000 as opposed to the imported alternatives at rupees 49 lakhs. The better news is that Right Biotech is portable. It is easy to use, does not need any special training, and hence can be used by every Asha in all Anganwadis in all the villages of India. Friends, today we are facing a crisis of antibiotic failure. 10 lakh Indians suffer from a common condition, urinary tract infection, on a daily basis. I'm sure everyone here has heard about the condition, Many of us have even suffered more than once because it is a recurring condition. All these people need antibiotics for treatment. They pop in pills sold over the counter as and when they wish. This misuse of antibiotics creates stronger bacteria, which make treatable conditions untreatable. The C-section birth of a grandchild at home, or the repair of a fracture of a young one at home who fell from the cycle, are becoming more and more difficult at this rate because they all need antibiotic cover. At this rate, even a benign cut or a scratch may, if infected, lead to amputation or death. The better news is that right biotic allows and ensures a judicious use of antibiotics. The vision of XBITS is that we would like to extend this technology platform to assist the doctor to treat the typhoid, the diarrhea, the tuberculosis, and that is possible. The best news is that with this patented technology, we at XBITS are ensuring that India is at the forefront of this war against misuse or abuse of antibiotics. Next time, when you pop a pill, just remember, be mindful, make the difference.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suman. It's my pleasure to invite on the stage Mr. Sam Balsara, Chairman and Managing Director, Madison World, to now felicitate Dr. Suman and present her, importantly, with the Innovation for India Award 2016. Thank you, Mr. Balsara. Kudos to you, Dr. Suman. Thank you very much for sharing your insights with us. And ladies and gentlemen, with that we move to the fifth winner, or rather winners for the evening, Arun Shenoy and Mandar Kaprikar, co-founders of GIBS, which stands for Green India Building Systems and Services. I might tell you that Arun and Mandar are a bit like startup soulmates, if there is such a thing. Arun had spent 7 years working in the geothermal and commercial air conditioning industry in the USA, while Mandar had 15 years of experience in the high-performance building systems and air conditioning space in the Middle East. Both decided to move to India around the same time to start a venture in the geothermal energy efficiency space. Well, with similar backgrounds and similar visions, obviously they soon crossed paths. What happens next? Well, we'll hear it from them. Ladies and gentlemen, we invite onto stage and indeed welcome them, Arun Shenoy and Mandar Kaprikar of GIBS.
Good evening. What if I said, हम आपके बिजली के बिल आधे कर देंगे और पानी के बिल 0 कर देंगे? That's right. We'll reduce your air conditioning electricity bills by half and reduce your air conditioning water bills to 0. In December 2015, the Indian School of Business campus in Mohali won the Smartest Building in India award among a pool of 2,000 smart buildings. The ISB campus
uses the Gibbs geothermal air conditioning system that brings them savings of 30% in their electricity bills and also saves them 13 million liters of water every single year. Now, how much is 13 million liters of water? It's equivalent to leaving a running tap open continuously for 3.5 years. Now, let's see how the geothermal air conditioning technology works.
So, what is geothermal? Let me use the analogy of water in the wells. In villages, in both the summer and the winter, people take bath in well waters. I think most of us know. In summers, the water feels cooler, and in winters, the same well water feels warmer. Do you think that the water changes its temperature? Actually, no. The water temperature doesn't change. In fact, compared to the outside air temperature, the well water simply is perceived either cooler or warmer. We use the principle of constant and cooler ground to inspire how we can efficiently cool our buildings. Ladies and gentlemen, we pioneered geothermal cooling technology. Geothermal cooling technology that can be applied to any tropical climate around the world. Over the last 4 to 5 years, we carried out a number of on-site tests, and we customized our designs. Some of our designs are most suitable for Indian tropical climate. And we also went ahead patenting some of those designs. Our innovation offers 60% saving in energy, up to 60%, and like Arun said, 100% water, with a simple commercial payback of 2 years, only 2 years. In 2012, we introduced our innovation, the geothermal cooling innovation, to the Indian market. And the biggest learning that we had at that time was, if we have to make our innovation sustainable and scalable, we have to make it commercially viable. In fact, when we went to many customers, most our customers had many no's for us. Most of those no's we hadn't even thought about.
Mandar is right. The customer would ask, your savings projections somehow seem too good to be true. Do you think you can provide me some kind of an assurance on the savings? We certainly appreciated that concern, and we worked out a performance bank guarantee on the entire savings that we committed to the customer. Now, we went back to the customer this time, hoping that we could bring the purchase order home, and we get another no. The customer said, we are on an ever-expansion mode. We may not have the cash flows to pursue some of these projects. Now, here was another learning for us. We had to work out a model, a pay-from-savings model, where the customer would not have to invest anything upfront, but would actually pay from the savings that we were going to generate for them, the savings that we were going to guarantee to them. Now, we thought that this is going to be a sure shot closure with 2 solutions. And the customer came up with another no. So the customer said, what do I do with my existing technology? My existing technology may be energy guzzling and water guzzling, but they're still in good working condition, right? We developed an answer for that too. We worked out a buyback solution where we paid a fair market value to the existing equipment of the customer and routed this existing equipment to an e-waste management ecosystem. Now, with 3 solutions, we were now really sure that there would be nothing standing between us and the deal closure. And then came yet another no. Now, this time the customer said, hey, you are a very small team operating out of Mumbai. How would you address my service issues in towns like, say, Mohali or Bellary? That's where our local inventory model took birth, where all the spares would be provided locally to the customer so that in the rarest possibility of any malfunction whatsoever, there was zero downtime. We also offered free operator support and training to the customer staff so that they were able to transition to newer, innovative technologies.
Yeah, customer is the king. So with all the solutions that Arun spoke about, ladies and gentlemen, today we are engaged with over 400 buildings in India. Thank you. 400 large commercial and industrial buildings. Over the last 6 years, we introduced innovations that create a solid economic impact, environmental impact, and social impact, which is helping us realize our vision of making every single building in India a sustainable and energy positive building.
That's right. As per the Worldwide Fund, deployment of our geothermal innovation can reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 22 million metric tons. That's equivalent to planting 500 million trees. In fact, our geothermal technology has the potential to reduce India's electricity demand by 35% and India's industrial water demand by 30%. So like I said, हम आपके बिजली के बिल आधे कर देंगे और पानी के बिल 0 कर देंगे. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I now invite onto stage Mr. Ashwin Dani, Non-Executive Vice Chairman of Asian Paints, to felicitate Arun and Mandar with the Innovation for India Award 2016. Thanks, Mr. Dani. Well done, Arun and Mandar. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the sixth and the last winner of the evening, Mr. Ramji Raghavan, founder and chairman of the Agastya International Foundation. I might inform you that Ramji had a thriving career in banking and finance in London. And eventually, he had a change of heart, quit his job, and importantly, dedicated himself to the cause of education and social innovation in India, with a vision to transform India's underprivileged children into passionately curious mini Einsteins. He founded the Agastya International Foundation, a nonprofit that aims to spark curiosity, nurture creativity, and importantly, build confidence in the future generations of this country of ours, India. We now invite onto stage Ramji Raghavan of the Agastya Foundation. Thank you.
One day in 1894, a young 5-year-old boy was lying sick in bed when his father brought him a gift. The boy woke up with a start, held the gift in his hand and went, "Ah!" And he was fascinated. The gift was a magnetic compass, because whichever way he held it, it always pointed in the same direction. Now, this was probably the gift of the century, perhaps the gift of several centuries. The young boy was, of course, Einstein. And in his 70s, he said it was the magnetic compass that made him wonder if there was an invisible force behind everything in the universe. And that line of questioning led to a revolution in physics. Let's fast forward 114 years. On a hot summer's day in rural South India, in a place called Kuppam, 1,120 kilometers from where I stand today, 2 village girls, Rani and Roja, sat under a tree to escape the sun. Sensible thing to do in the Indian summer, unless you have money to buy a movie ticket. Right? And Rani looked at Roja and said, "You know, Roja, I feel rather pleasant here, cool. And it's so hot outside there. So what's going on? You know, why do you feel cool sitting in the shade of a tree?" And Roja thought for a second and said, "Well, maybe it has something to do with the fact that the leaves and branches of the tree shield us from the sun." And the girls continued talking until the aha question popped out. Would different leaves have different cooling effects? And that question became a project titled, not surprisingly, "The Cooling Effect of Leaves." And working with igniters and instructors from the Agastya Foundation, 9 months later, the girls won a prestigious science award, an Iris Intel National Science Award, competing with the best and brightest kids from across India, many of them from very well-heeled schools, including Mumbai. What do these stories tell you? They tell you the value of curiosity, of the spirit of inquiry, the importance of asking questions. Einstein is reported to have said, "If only I had the right question." They tell you about the magic of wonder and imagination. They tell you about the power of passion, pursuing a problem till you've cracked it. Einstein attributed his great insights, remarkable insights, to curiosity. Curiosity is the first, most exciting, and profound step in a 3-step process that can transform your life, that can transform your business, that can create innovation in a society. When you see something new, different, beautiful, unexpected, surprising, counterintuitive, you go, "Ah, wow," because it's so unexpected. Now, the ah is terribly important because in the ah, the mind is awakened, your curiosity is stirred. And then you wonder, now, why did that happen? Or how did that happen? Could it have happened differently? What if? And so on. And if you do find out, it might take a second, it might take weeks, decades, maybe a lifetime, you experience the famous aha effect. So ah and aha are profound ways of learning. These are the 2 ways, the 2 key elements that can transform a society, that can produce innovators like the ones we've seen today on stage. But there is a third thing, and that has to do with the fact that you must have fun doing what you're doing, right? Life can't be all boring and routine. Fun, serious fun, quiet laughter, garrulous laughter, whatever. And that is the ha-ha element. So aha, and ha-ha are really the three key elements of learning, right? So Agastya Foundation's mission is to disseminate the spirit of aha, and ha-ha across India, mostly through village schools as well as urban schools, to children and school teachers. And we're doing this in multiple ways. We have mobile science vans, we work with teachers, we have science centers, and so on. But one of our newest, most revolutionary and exciting innovations is the lab on a bike, a motorbike, by the way. The lab on a bike is really a manifestation of our approach to spark curiosity across India. And we took the trouble of actually bringing one over from Pune. And it's ridden by a highly turned-on young instructor trained by Agastya, maybe not as good-looking as Dhual here, but who has the most important degree. It's called the BEE. It's not Bachelor of Electrical Engineering or Bachelor of Ecology and Environment, all of which are terribly important degrees. This man has the most important degree, which is the Bachelor of Energy and Enthusiasm. So the bike carries a lab in a box, and this one carries 2, but there's a set of 10. And they have over 100 really ingenious hands-on science experiments. So think of little Einstein getting a magnetic compass. Our instructor is like Einstein's father, who's going around distributing really interesting gifts to millions of kids across India. And the lab on a bike visits some of the most remote, inaccessible places in India. Today we have 60 of them, touching over 50,000 children every year, and the idea is to 10x or even 100x it. And there's a variant which carries a laptop on it. What's in it for you? Live aha, and ha-ha. And that's how I've tried to live my life. And inject your life with meaning and excitement. Live aha, ha-ha. And see your business, your profession, your career transform. Become an engine of creativity and innovation. Spread the spirit of aha, ha-ha across India, whether it's in schools or universities or even in your businesses, and watch India become an innovative and creative nation. Because curiosity is the foundation of all this. Unless we spark curiosity on a massive scale, we're not going to be able to create an India that's highly innovative and productive. Curiosity and questioning are at the root of it. So be curious, because curiosity will transform your life. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Raghavan, for those wonderful insights and the wonderful eloquence as well. I'd like to invite to join Mr. Raghavan on stage thought leaders from the Agastya Foundation, Mr. Tyagarajan and Mr. Hariharan. Maybe have you on stage, please. And let's have a round of applause for them as well, ladies and gentlemen. And now it's my privilege to invite onto stage Shri Amitabh Kant, the Chief Executive Officer of Niti Aayog, and indeed our chief guest of the evening, to felicitate Mr. Raghavan, Mr. Tyagarajan, and Mr. Hariharan with the Innovation for India Award 2016. Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Kant, may I request you to please stay with us on stage? Congratulations again, gentlemen. I would like to call upon Dr. R.A. Mashelkar to officially introduce our chief guest for the evening, Mr. Amitabh Kant. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. R.A. Mashelkar.
My mind goes back to last year, and we had a very fascinating discussion with Dr. Radhakrishnan. You remember the fireside talk, as exciting as you had today. So let me begin with that. And some of you who were present will remember that as Mangalayaan was hurtling towards Mars, at a few thousand kilometers per minute, I remember asking Dr. Radhakrishnan, can you do something like this for India? Because India is impatient. India wants to move into the next orbit very quickly. Can you launch India into the next orbit and in a hurry? And you remember the answer. But it's not just the scientists and technologists and entrepreneurs, great entrepreneurs that are present here who are going to do it. It is also the civil servant, the government. And if there is one civil servant who shines today, who can hurtle us into the next orbit, it is Amitabh Kant. Amitabhji, I have been your great admirer and a great follower from your early days, even when you were Joint Secretary, Ministry of Tourism in Kerala, when you branded Kerala as God's own country. We all remember that. You'll all remember Atithi Devo Bhava. You'll all remember its terrific book on branding India, the incredible story when we talked about Incredible India. So Amitabh Kant has been with Incredible India driving it, then Make in India driving it, and now Startup India driving it. You can see what incredible difference he has made. Besides, of course, being the Secretary to Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. Just before you came, we were just saying that we should not just leapfrog. Frog can go only thus far. We have to pole vault with our ambition, the pole being 1,000,000 meters or above, and we can go kilometers. If there is one person who can lead us into that, it is you. And what I love most about you, it's not just good intention, great ideas, but decisive action. And that's the only way India can move into the next orbit. And he belongs to our club, by the way. He belongs to our club of innovators because there is a wonderful definition of an innovator. Innovator is one who does not know it cannot be done. And there is one person who does not know it cannot be done. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Abhinav.
Mr. Mashelkar, he's been a very iconic figure to all of us who've grown up in government. Mr. Harsh Mariwala, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Around a month back, Mr. Mariwala called me up one day and said, can you be a standby speaker? So I said, what is that? So he said, actually, we've invited the Nobel laureate, Mr. Kailash Satyarthi, and he's not sure whether he'll be able to make it on that day. And I'm requesting you if you can just be a standby. So I said, what is the function about? So he said, innovation. So I said, if it's innovation and if it's replacing a Nobel laureate who's not able to make it, well, I'm willing to be a standby. So, I'm like Einstein's driver, in many ways, and Einstein had just won the Nobel Prize. And he was going around giving speeches all over the United Kingdom. He went to about 350 odd universities. He spoke at all universities. And he was a brilliant speaker, but wherever he went, his driver used to accompany him. So the driver had heard him 350 times. And, then suddenly Einstein got an invitation from the University of Columbia. And so the driver said that, I've heard you 350 times. Nobody has seen you in America. Those are not the days of television. Nobody has seen you at all. I can actually give a better speech than what you can ever give. So Einstein said, go ahead. So they went to Columbia. The driver gave a speech. Einstein sat in the audience. He gave a brilliant speech, absolutely superlative speech. He spoke better than what Einstein had ever spoken. He knew every bit of it. It was a brilliant, brilliant speech. When he finished the speech, the dean said, ladies and gentlemen, now we'll have a question-answer session. And so he turned to the most brilliant student and asked him a really tough, very complex, very difficult, very complicated question. And the driver, said, your question is so easy that even my driver sitting in the audience can reply. So ladies and gentlemen, I'll speak, but if you have any question, please turn to the Nobel laureate. Kerala. And I joined as Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Tourism. And, within 2 days, there was a Chief Minister's conference. So Mr. Jagmohan was my minister then. He said, Beta, tum bhi chalo, is Chief Minister's conference. So I went along with him. And you know how the Chief Minister's conference is in Vigyan Bhavan? Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee was the Prime Minister. This circulate all the speeches, Chief Minister start speaking alphabetically, and then they started with Andhra, so Chandrababu Naidu spoke, then Bihar came, Mr. Lalu Yadav started speaking. He'd barely spoken that Mulayam Singh Yadav from the other side got up and he said, point of order, sir, point of order. So Mr. Vajpayee, who's chairing the meeting, said, bhai, ye to Parliament House mein hota hai, point of order, Chief Minister's conference mein to nahi hota. So he said कि नहीं इनको बोलने दीजिए. तो मुलायम सिंह यादव said, नहीं सर इनको रोकिए, point of order, point of order. तो वाजपेयी साहब asked him, the Prime Minister asked him, कि क्या दिक्कत क्या आपको? He said, साहब ये तो मेरी speech पढ़ते चले जा रहे हैं, मैं क्या पढ़ूंगा? So since then I've decided no written speeches. So I've, worked in government for about 38 years. I worked in both the North and the South Bloc, both of whom managed to block just about everything in government. And I worked in the state of Kerala. And these are very exciting times. This is truly the age of innovation. This is truly the age of disruption. And this is the age of disruption because India is the only country in the world which has 1 billion mobile, which has 1 billion biometric. India is the only country which is going to disrupt in a very big way simply because the brick and mortar will be dead. Banks, branches will be dead. Brick and mortar shops will be dead. And you'll break new boundaries. Our e-commerce market is just 16 billion, just 16 billion. By 2020, we would have grown about 8 times larger. 8 times larger by 2020, but by 2025, this will be close to about a 400 billion market. We've just started the growth path. Just to give you a comparison of what happened, between 210 and 214, just 4 years, the Chinese e-commerce market grew by 600%. Alibaba started in 1999. We are a 16 billion market. The market cap of Alibaba is 190 billion US dollars, 190 billion. So each one of them, all these four guys here who are here, all these young dynamic entrepreneurs who are here, they'll be all clocking about 100 billion. Just invest in them. Close your eyes, invest in them. Each one of them, you saw the passion in them, you saw the energy in them, you saw the dynamism in them. And they are a different breed. They're going to break boundaries in a very big way, simply because every minute in India, there are about 5 Indians who take to internet. We have 32% people with internet. By 2020, we'll have 59% with internet. By 2030, every single Indian will have internet. Every single Indian will have a smartphone. Every single Indian will have a smartphone. And every single business will be driven by a smartphone. And that will radically revolutionize India. And to my mind, the important thing is not that it will radicalize business, but it will enable millions of Indians to be lifted above the poverty line. The cost of transaction will radically fall down. It'll come down today. If it is about 1,500 rupees, it'll come down to as low as 10 rupees. And to my mind, it may come down even to 2 rupees. But it will enable a vast segment of Indians to be lifted above the poverty lines. So no country in the world has this many number of people with smartphone. No country in the world has this many people with biometrics. No country in the world has such a large population and such a large latent demand. And no country in the world has a population where 72% of the people are below the age of 32. No country in the world has that. And therefore, India is in the midst of radical innovation, and India is in the midst of a disruptionist phase which will disrupt the life of each one of us. And therefore, to my mind, we are seeing some unique startups. I mean, not only them, not only in the world of digital phase, but the movement of startup is spreading. It's rapidly expanding. It's moving into social innovation. Look at a startup like Social Cop. When the Chennai flood happened, Social Cop, its app was able to provide assistance and support to the government to enable assistance to be provided to the distressed people in Chennai. 2 young people running an app called Social App. Look at a girl like Pranchu Bhandari. She ran Culture Alley. She started an app called Hello English. Last year, in 1 year, she's educated 8 million Indians how to speak English. How to speak English. And look at a startup like AgroStar. 2 Seth brothers providing seeds, fertilizer, even tractors at the doorstep of farmers using technology today. 450,000 farmers getting linked up with them on AgroStar. That is the size and scale of the movement which is taking place today in India. And therefore, this is inevitable. This is going to grow and expand in a very big way. So, to my mind, we are in the midst of a very, very disruptionist phase, and technology will overtake all of us in due course. But since Harsh had asked me to speak a little bit about government, you know, I started my career in Kerala, and pretty early in my career, I was posted in the fisheries sector, and I had to work with traditional fishermen. And that was a time when fish used to be sold through 14 different hands and through a vast number of middlemen. And the traditional fishermen used to get about 21%, 22% of the marketed price. And the challenge for me then was several. One, how do you enhance his productivity to be able to go much further into the sea? How do you enable him to get a higher return of his market price? And it was one of the most fascinating jobs in my career I've ever done.
by forming self-help groups. We brought in new technology, use of fiber glass in terms of use of traditional crafts for fishermen. We brought in outboard motors, linked them to the traditional craft, which enabled them to go much further. That was the first time Honda, Yamaha outboard motors got fitted, and they were able to go much, much further into the sea. They increased their production by almost sixfold. We introduced beach-level auctioning at the beach level, and they were able, their returns went up from 21, 22% to about 85%. And we introduced buses. Most of the time, fisherwomen used to carry basket load of fishes to Trivandrum and Cochin cities, and they weren't able to put their baskets in the normal buses, so we introduced new buses for fisherwomen where they could put their baskets and sit in the front side, but all stack their baskets all through. This enabled fisherwomen to reach the cities and sell their fish, and directly sell their fish and get a higher return. And it really revolutionized the fisheries sector in Kerala in terms of higher return, better technology, better market reach, we also had introduced a new net called the Disco Net, and all this radically led to the enhanced production, productivity, and much greater returns. One of the most satisfying moments in my career. But soon thereafter, I was posted to the tourism sector. And that time, Kerala was a mass tourism. It was a low-value destination. Nobody had heard of Kerala as a tourism destination at that point of time. And the only destination then known was Kovalam, where we used to get backpackers coming in, and that had led to a lot of cultural invasion, a complete devastation of sustainability, and I've seen tourism actually destroying cultures, and Kovalam was a very living example of that. And we closed down charter flights, we closed down Kovalam Beach for 2 years, and we created completely new products in Kerala. We created the backwaters of Kerala. We did everything that the West was known for in tourism. We did an antithesis of everything that the West did. We said we'll not copy and not ape the West, but we'll do a Kerala model of tourism development. We went back to Kerala's root. We went back to the backwaters of Kerala. We revived Ayurveda not as a massage, but as a regimen over a long period of time. We went back to traditional Kerala architecture, the Nalkittam houses, which were being destroyed and sold as wood. We restored them. We brought them back as the main pillar of Kerala's tourism. We went back to Kerala cuisine, and that's how appam and stew and all grew. We went back to Kerala culture, all the traditional art forms of Kerala, Otan Thullal, Kalri. We went back to Kerala's martial art, Kalri Pettam. All that we brought back center stage, and actually Kerala tourism grew because the discerning traveler, the world of tourism by that time had moved over from sun, sand, and sea to the alert, independent traveler who wanted to know and see the destination as it existed. And then we branded Kerala as God's own country, and we said we are going to market it only for the upmarket, the high-value tourists, and not for mass destination. And that was really the growth of Kerala as a completely new destination in India. But Kerala is not a product of five-star culture. Kerala is not a product of five-star hotels. Kerala is a product of local enterprise. Kerala is a product of local entrepreneurs creating unique boutique resorts. And they're very different from the five-star hotels that you come across. So it's a product of local enterprise, and politicians could then see how many jobs the tourism sector had created. It had a huge multiplier effect, particularly for women workers, and it became a key driver in a state which was then known. And this all happened during the communist regime in Kerala. We branded it as God's own country while the communists were ruling that state. And therefore, they saw for themselves how jobs grew, and it had such a huge multiplier effect in the Kerala's economy, in a state where they said nothing can ever happen because they only do jathas, samram, morchas, and agitations, and no industry can ever grow. But Kerala tourism grew, it boomed, it just blossomed out. And then, suddenly one fine day, Mr. Vajpayee landed up and I got a call from the principal secretary to the Prime Minister and said, the Prime Minister wants to have a holiday in the backwaters of Kerala and Kumaragam. So he said that nobody else will be allowed, only you will be there, you will play the host, no politician, no panchayat member, only you will be there, you make all arrangements and be there. So I stayed with Mr. Vajpayee for about 7 days, and he wrote his weekly musings and many, many things and all that. And then one fine day, Mr. Brajesh Mishra told, I'd taken him in the backwaters and given him some nice Ayurvedic therapies. And then one fine day, Mr. Brajesh Mishra over lunch told PM that this young boy has done good work in tourism, so isko Delhi lana chahiye sahab. So PM said कि Mr. Vajpayee said कि तुमने अप्लाई किया दिल्ली के लिए? मैंने कहा मैंने तो नहीं किया सर. तो he said मत अप्लाई करना, अगर करोगे तो ये टूरिज्म के बदले तुम्हें women and child welfare में भेज देंगे. So I didn't apply. I applied after 1 year, 2 months. After 1 year, 2 months I applied, and I was going to finance ministry. I had been selected for finance ministry, so I was going there. Then suddenly I get a call from Mr. Brajesh. He said, have you applied for Delhi? I said, yes, sir. He said, you know where you're going? I said, sir, I'm told I'm going to finance. He said, no, you're not going there. You remember that conversation 1 year back? He said, you are going to tourism. So I said, sir, there's no vacancy there. So he said, that's not your concern. We'll create vacancy. So they created a vacancy. I was posted in tourism in Ministry of Government of India. As soon as I landed there, about a month later, the New York Twin Tower blast happened. There was war in Afghanistan, there was attack on our parliament, and there were travel advisories against India, and we had very few hotels then, but the hotel occupancy came down to 18 to 20%. And the hoteliers started saying, sir, that there's just no demand. There's no demand. Nobody is coming to India. So what do you do? And that was at a point of time when the entire, globally, travel and tourism was not moving. So we went to the tour operator. We said, those days, tourism used to be sold through tour operators, brochures. So we said, we'll finance you, we'll support you. You put pages on India. They said, sir, even if you put pages on India, it will not help because there's no demand for India. So the challenge was to revive consumer demand. And at the peak of that, at the peak of the crisis, when Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia had all stopped their marketing, we launched the Incredible India campaign. And Incredible India campaign went on to do extremely well in global markets. We did a 360-degree campaign. We went to the net. We went into the key markets. We used electronic media. We used the CNN, we used the BBC, and it did extremely well, and it brought back tourism in a very, very big way. Tourism grew at that point of time. It grew enormously, and actually the demand grew. And therefore, because the demand grew, it forced open the Indian skies, which were extremely closed. And international carriers came in, new domestic carriers grew, young carriers grew, all this Deccan and many other young carriers grew, and therefore the demand grew. And the pressure of demand really led to the opening and creation of new airports. Hyderabad, Bangalore, Chennai, Mumbai was all the pressure of demand growing. We created new products of medical tourism, a whole range of new products we created, ecotourism, all this. And therefore, the Incredible India campaign actually led to a huge, huge growth. But the challenge was that tourism, to my mind, is a civilizational issue. And it's very important that each one of us realize that we have to act as a brand ambassador. You can't have a nation which is dirty and filthy and say that we want to sell our tourism. It's not possible. Tourism is a multi-sectoral activity. It cuts across many sectors. And therefore, it's very important that Tourism has a huge potential to create jobs. It has a huge potential to create, drive our economy. It's got a huge potential to have a massive multiplier effect in our economy, and India hasn't tapped that at all. And India needs to push that in a very, very vigorous, very concentrated manner in the days to come. So from there, so that was another round. And then, I was posted later. I went back to Kerala. When I came back, I was posted as the CEO of the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. And this was one of the most challenging projects because urbanization will be a very key driver of growth. India is going to see, if you go by the McKinsey studies, 700 million people in the process of urbanization. And when America, Europe, and China urbanized, land, gas, and water were cheaply available. They are all scarce commodities. You will not have land, you will not have gas, you will not have water, and therefore you need to do very innovative and sustainable urbanization. So if you produce goods in the northern part of India, it today takes you 14 days for goods to reach the ports on the western coast of India, 14 days. But by 2018 beginning, there will be a dedicated freight corridor, a train which will run from Delhi to Mumbai, and it will put only containers, no passengers, only containers. It will put containers within 14 hours. So from 14 days to 14 hours will be the paradigm shift in India. And it will radically reduce the cost of logistics. But when you do this, we are doing a Delhi-Mumbai freight corridor, we're doing an Amritsar-Calcutta freight corridor. But on the both sides of this, when you create this new train, both sides of this, there's huge opportunity to create new cities of the future. And what the opportunity I got was to work around, plan, and develop, along with state governments, 7 new cities on either side and plan them as innovative, sustainable, smart cities of the future. And that was a huge, huge experience of embedding cities with technology, and much of that work is presently on. So in about 3 years, 3.5 years, India will see completely new 7 new cities, much like how Mumbai was created at one point of time, how Chennai was created at one point of time. As port cities, you'll see new cities emerging in India. Shendra near Aurangabad here, Dholera in Gujarat, city near Ujjain in Madhya Pradesh, one city beyond Noida. So all these are completely new greenfield cities which are being developed. Not only will they drive manufacturing, but they will drive urbanization in a sustainable manner. So that was another unique innovation, a completely new process. And one of the key challenges there was to empower these new cities with center and state government to have all the authority and all the power. The key to good urbanization is good monetization, and vest the city with those powers of municipal functioning, of planning, of monetizing land values, because otherwise, wherever urbanization has happened in India, either political parties have got rich or politicians have got rich. So you need to ensure that that money flows back into the city as you create the trunk infrastructure. As you create the trunk infrastructure, land values go up. You should be able to capture that value and put it back into the city. That's the key. And that's where most of our cities have suffered. So we did a lot of work around the modeling of this, creating good legal frameworks for this. Then, I again had to, we work in the center, then we go back to the state. I went back to the state and I came back, and just before that I was made the Secretary Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. And, in the previous government, I'd just been made secretary, and I sent 5 cabinet notes to the cabinet. All of them came back with some query or the other, and we couldn't push them through. And then Mr. Vajpayee, the new government got elected, new government came in. And one of the first things I thought was that if India is growing at 7.4%, it's an oasis of growth. But if you want to make it grow at higher rates, and the challenge for India is really to grow at 9 to 10% per annum. And 9 to 10% per annum, you can't grow without enhancement of productivity. Every single country, when China grew at those rates, China's, the difference between India and China is that when China grew from 7.4% between 1990 to 2000, it grew at 7.4%. But 2000 to 2010, it grew at 10.9%. But when it grew at 10.9%, its productivity levels went up 75%. 75 times it went up, productivity levels. Same thing happened with Japan when it grew. Productivity level, the total factor productivity went up enormously. And total factor productivity went up because of innovation, nothing but innovation. And as a country, we must understand the difference between 7% growth and 10% growth. Our per capita income right now is $1,580 US. $1,580 US is our per capita income. If as a country we continue to grow at 7%, in 2032, our per capita income will be $4,000 US. $4,000 US. But if we grow at 10%, the per capita income of every Indian in 2032 will be $6,988 US. 6,000, that is the difference between 7% growth and 10% growth. The power of compounding is very enormous. And therefore, it's very important to understand that we must grow at rates of 10%. If you want poverty to be lifted in this country, there is no other substitute but growth, and there's no other substitute but India to have single-minded pursuit of growth of 10%. That's the key. And that cannot happen. That cannot happen without innovation. That cannot happen without disruption. And this can happen only if we make India a very easy and simple place to do business in. We've made India an extremely complex. Over the last 68 years, we've made India a highly complex, a highly difficult, and a very, very complicated place to do business in. Very difficult to do business in, and we treat every single businessman as a criminal till he proves otherwise. And therefore, it's very important that all that we have built up in the last 68 years, laws, rules, regulation, procedures, paperwork, all of these need to be dismantled, ruthlessly dismantled. I mean, unless and until you don't dismantle this, it will be very difficult for entrepreneurs to grow and blossom. Each one of them will face a hurdle. You want a startup movement to grow and expand? Allow the freedom to fly. Without that, it will not happen. And therefore, the challenge was to make India one of the easiest and simplest places to do business in. So last year, we worked very hard on this across all the states. We worked very hard with central government. Very difficult to work with tax department. Even more difficult to work with customs, excise, all this, but we worked very hard. We made India jump up 12 positions in the ease of doing business. But we worked with the state governments. We called all the chief secretaries, said these are the 100 points. These are the 100 points on which we are going to evaluate states. All of them agreed. And we said we are going to evaluate these 100 points, all the states, and we'll name and shame the states at the end of it. So we did a ranking of the states last year. We ranked all states, huge competition took place, and we ranked all the states. We said these are the best performing states, these are the worst performing states. And this year, we've put out 340 parameters on which we are evaluating and ranking states. 340 parameters. And last year, Gujarat won by a whisker. Andhra, which is a new state, came right second. But the good thing was that Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh, which are mineral-rich states, came third and fourth. But this year, you take it from me, Gujarat will get beaten by Andhra. Andhra is working so hard, day in, day out, that they'll beat Gujarat. So there's a huge, huge competition. And the only way to improve India is to create a huge sense of competition amongst India. India is a vast country, and you need to create competition across a whole range of areas, across public hospitals, across schools. Challenge the states. Put everything in public domain. Put it on the net. Create the sense of competition and put everything on net, and India will improve. That's the only way India will move forward. And to my mind, this is what is needed today. And we did that. And this year we are doing this. We've created a dynamic platform where if you improve, you'll automatically see that you've moved up. Otherwise, you'll fall down. So there's competition taking place. But the second thing is we must understand that we are in a globalized world, and therefore you have to be an integrated part of the global supply chain. So we opened up India's economy. We opened up defense. We opened up railways. We opened up construction. We opened up insurance, pension fund, defense, everything. 16 cabinet notes we took. All of them got approved. And India's FDI went up. India's FDI went up by 48% at a point of time when FDI across the world fell by 16%. 48%, whopping 48% growth. And 48% growth when across the world it was falling. And therefore, what it demonstrates is that the more you open up the economy, the more India will grow. And there is no substitute but to be an integral part of the global supply chain. And you have to make India compete. You have to be cost competitive. You have to make India compete, and we did that. But the third important point, to my mind, is that we did a lot of work around the fact that there has to be consistency, predictability, and clarity in our policies. We did a lot of work around hand-holding of investors with a new body which we created called Invest India, completely new structure we created, that anybody coming in will hold hands, we'll act as a facilitator, we'll act as a catalyst. But India is seeing many, many things, one of which is, many of us haven't discerned this, that in the last 4 years, we've seen close to about 1,600 multinational corporations relocating their research and development to Bangalore and Hyderabad. And they've created close to about 200,000 jobs in India. So India has become the hub for research and development. Huge hub for research and development, and India is seeing the kind of energy and vitality which you rarely see through the startup movement. And then we said that we need to unleash this. It's happening in Bangalore, it's happening in Mumbai, it's happening in Pune, but you need to spread this movement across. And the only way you will make this happen is there are a couple of things which need to be done. Make it extremely easy for startups to register, and from the 1st of April, we said Prime Minister announced that we'll have a mobile app which will register all startups in 1 day flat. In 1 day, we'll register all startups. It takes 6 months to register a company, but for startups, we'll do it in exactly 1 day. We'll allow easy exit. Within 90 days, all startups, you have to fail to succeed. Each one of them, whether it's Steve Jobs, whether it's Bill Gates, all of them have failed in life. Without failure, you can't be a successful startup. So we said we must allow exit to take place. In the new bankruptcy law, we've invested that within 90 days you can exit. We said we'll create a completely new structure in our educational system. So we are opening up 500 tinkering labs. We are creating incubation centers in our universities and colleges. We are creating research parks in our IITs, simply because we said all these young people must become job creators rather than job seekers, and restructure your education system. Unless you don't restructure the education system, you need to dismantle your present education system. Till you don't do that, you can't have a scenario where you will make our young people go and do incubation. You will never be able to allow young students in school to see 3D printers or robots and so on, and that's the way smart manufacturing is going to grow. So allow them all to experience that, and that's how the education system is getting altered radically. So I took you through the story of, my experience with fishing, fishermen, fisherwomen, which to my mind has been the most enriching experience in my life. I took you through Kerala tourism, branding of Kerala as God's own country. I took you through Incredible India. I took you through Make in India, and I took you through the Startup India movement. But the challenge there is to ensure that we are able to take it from the digital world to the manufacturing, to the agriculture, to the social world. But, all these are key catalysts for change. They're key catalysts for India to change. They're key catalysts for India to become a driver in global economy at 9 to 10% of growth. But India can't grow. You can talk about smart cities, you can talk about smart grid, but India needs its people to take ownership. And people of India must own several of these things. They must own the country. They must act as responsible citizens. And unless and until, PM can talk about Swachh Bharat, but all around us we see dirt and filth, all created by Indians around. Unless citizens don't take up this ownership, India can never change. And therefore, to my mind, it's critical that the responsibility must be taken by the people of India, and that's important. And I would only turn to this 14th century poet of India. He was a Muslim. His ancestry was Turkic. And he wrote in the Persian language. But he considered himself, he was a Muslim, his ancestry was Turkic, he wrote in Persian, but he considered himself to be the luckiest man alive to have been born in India and to have India as his motherland in the 14th century. And that was Amir Khusro. And in 14th century, Amir Khusro, talking about India, he said how exhilarating is the atmosphere of India. There cannot be a better teacher than the way of life of its people. If any foreigner comes by, he will have to ask for nothing, because they treat him as their own, play an excellent host, and win his heart, and show him how to smile like a flower. And much like what Amir Khusro said of the 14th century, it was the flavor, the feel, the innovative spirit. It was the spirit of the people of India of the 14th century which made Amir Khusro feel proud of India at that point of time and say that he was the greatest, it was the greatest thing that he was alive in a country like India. Each one of us has to feel the same way for India to become a great, innovative nation. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chief Executive Officer of Niti Aayog, our chief guest this evening, the incredible Shri Amitabh Kant. May I request Dr. R.A. Mashelkar and Mr. Harsh Mariwala, the founder of the Marico Innovation Foundation, to join us on stage and hand over a small memento, a token of our sincere, heartfelt appreciation. I request Mr. Mariwala to raise the vote of thanks.
Thank you, and first of all, let me thank Amitabh for being with us. I'm glad he came in as a standby speaker. I think he did a wonderful job, and I'm so glad that he didn't have a written speech. He spoke extempore, and he spoke brilliantly. So thanks, Amitabh, for being with us. Today's flight was late. He called me up at 3:30 in the afternoon. My flight is late. I said, my God, what's happening? So his flight was going to take off at 3:30, and then they said half an hour, 40 minutes late. And then I said, circling over Bombay, the cricket match at the stadium. So we had to plan for a little bit of backup plan. So we included something more in the program, so just to ensure that Amitabh came in and then we could have him. So thank you, Amitabh, for being with us. I want to thank Noshir. Noshir, you readily agreed to do this panel discussion, and in spite of a personal crisis which you're going through, and I'm so thankful to you. And all the panelists who have readily come, we thought that these are youngsters, all of them will be very busy, some of them will drop out, so we said let's have 4, because we should provide for 1 or 2 dropouts, and luckily all 4 came, So thank you all 4 of you. I think you did a wonderful job. Thank you for all the winners. I think you came up with incredible stories. And we trained all the winners this time through a trainer who trains TED Gateway speakers, and they spoke brilliantly. I must say, within 1 day of training, they came out so well. Just to give an idea of what we do beyond having awards, we do a lot of things in the Innovation Foundation. One of the bigger programs we have is what we call Social Impact Acceleration Programs. And we work with social organizations to help them scale up, because we believe that social organizations who are innovative organizations, they cannot go to McKinsey's because they can afford them. So we said that can we actually, if you have a very good idea, can we help you scale up? And we have been working with 8 organizations, and what we do is we create an ecosystem of consultants. We have 2-3 of them with us here, ex-CEOs of some companies, Sanjeev Aga, Pramod Gothi, Rajiv Bakshi. They've come and worked with individual organizations in helping them scale up. So we work with them. I review the progress on a personal basis. And just to give an example, one organization we have worked with is Tara, which is based out of Delhi. They are in livelihoods, and we work with them. We started working with them about a year back. And earlier, they were training about 8,000 individuals to get them jobs. And with our interventions, they cut down the training costs. We did proper mapping in terms of where they should go. And their target over the next 2-3 years to go almost up to 180,000 individuals. So that's the kind of impact we want to make in the Innovation Foundation. Let me end by just sharing with you one Better India. We also just started airing Better India stories. And we had one film which was shown yesterday, it went viral. And within 24 hours, it has had 2 million viewers. And I just want to end the function by showing that film to all of you. So thank you very much for being with all of us, and please join us for cocktails and dinner after this, after watching this film. Thank you.
I ordered for idli sambar, and the spoon is put in it. So as he was putting the spoon, I grabbed it from his hand, I ran my thumb on it, it was greasy. I took a sniff of it, it was already smelling of sambar. It's being reused. We know plastic has got so many chemical complexes in it, phthalates, chelates, bisphenols. These cause cancer, these leach into food, they don't biodegrade, but still we're using a whole lot of plastic disposable cutlery. Why are we doing this? Answer obviously is there is no alternative. Oh well, we have an alternative now. We come up with an alternative, and that is edible cutlery. Here there is no coating, in fact it is entirely nutritious. You can eat up the spoon. Delicious. It is made of jowar blended with rice and wheat without preservatives, just like dehydrated vegetables. Our product also has a very long shelf life of more than 3 years. In fact, you can even have a hot soup also. You can stir your sugar and have your tea. You can eat it up. You don't want to eat it, you can just throw it. It decomposes within 4 to 5 days.
विश्वास नहीं हुआ, पहले बार देखे तो लकड़ी समझी मैं, मगर गांव में स्टार्ट होके काम शुरू किया बाद साग में डाल के अपन खाए, बहुत टेस्टी रहता मैडम।
आपने कभी खाने के चम्मच के बारे में सुना है? आपको एक सैंपल देती हूँ। आप अगर स्पून को काटेंगे तो स्पून का फ्लेवर आएगा आपको। इसमें जीरा, अजवाइन, रॉक सॉल्ट, ब्लैक पेपर मिलाते हैं और इसको बेक करते हैं। तो आप जब स्पून खाते हैं तो सिर्फ स्पून नहीं खा रहे, आप एक ज्वार रोटी खा रहे हैं।
When it comes to financing this, I had to put the only asset that I have, which is the flat where I am residing, as a collateral security. And then got the loan because there's no such technology. We are the first in the world. So the technology had to be created. I brought in this edible cutlery and trying to promote a market for millets and motivate farmers to move away from rice. Plastic is very cheap, true, but I can make it as cheap. I can, with volumes. And once, when I get the volumes, I get onto the farmers directly and start procuring raw materials directly from the farmers, in which case, my spoons will be as cheap as the plastic spoons. So now the cutlery is tasty, fun, nutritious and environment friendly. That's edible cutlery.
So this went viral yesterday. As I said, we have had 23 lakh views in 24 hours. And more importantly, they have already received orders of 2 crore spoons worth rupees 5 crores in 24 hours. So we want to create that kind of impact. Let me end by thanking Dr. Noshir, who's leading our Innovation Foundation for last 12 years. Doctor, your leadership is truly exemplary and you've really led it the front foot. And we all are thankful to you, as well as our governing council members who are present here and who were instrumental in giving the earlier awards. So with that, we end the evening, and please join us for cocktails and dinner outside. Thank you.